Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, buzzer beater from Austin Reaves. The Lakers get the win 115 over Minnesota. They keep rolling despite no Luka Dončić. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how, where you get your podcasts, this one's always free, never behind a paywall. And of course, Andy, Locked On Lakers on YouTube, where many people are watching right now as we are broadcasting live. That's where people go to hang out, talk to each other, talk to us. Over 36,000 of them, and they're all celebrating the heroics of Austin Reaves on Wednesday night. Lakers, after building a 20-point lead, see the whole thing disappear. They go down 10 seconds left in the game. Austin Reaves splits a double team, gets into the paint, little floater, victory, 116-115, Andy. This was as fun a game as the Lakers have played in a while. JJ Redick, when it was done, talked about how proud he was of this group. I think he echoed the feelings of basically every Lakers fan around the globe who watched this one, who all wanted to give this group a hug.
Game hillbillies, man. Austin Reaves with that game. He is on a heater right now, as I think all Laker fans are aware. 28 points, 16 assists against just 3 turnovers. And as we have talked about recently during this period, with no Luka Dončić, no LeBron James, no Marcus Smart, no Gabe Vincent, Austin is basically the only real plus ball handler on this team right now, which puts a lot of pressure on him and, frankly, everyone else when they have the ball. But in particular, Austin, since he's the guy you're going to be looking to have orchestrate this stuff. Unbelievable run that he's on right now. And this was a great win for the Lakers to get, obviously, to secure it. But also, now that you know it's in the books, you can also take a look at just how significant I think it was that this many different players contributed.
Yeah, you talk about the pressure though too. It's like, how many turnovers did AR have against the Blazers on 8? So he went from, a game with 1 and then a game I think with 2. Then he turned the ball over 8 times. And he wasn't as efficient in this game as he had been in some of the previous ones. The shooting percentage, although that last one was pretty nice.
Yeah, Austin actually said in his post-game interview with our friend George Sedano that he didn't have a lot of those shots fall, but the one that truly mattered the most did. And like I said before, he also helped a lot of other guys get their shots to fall.
And but what was really impressive about this one, when you look at the line, you mentioned, the 16 assists against only 3 turnovers, the amount of pressure that the Wolves were putting on Reaves, ball pressure all over the place, from, high on the floor, with double teams, with traps, with just this sort of, to only have 3 turnovers against, with 16 assists is, I know like the 51-point game, for example, was something that, obviously rightly got people's attention. I think this is equally impressive to that. Especially when you factor in how much better defensively Minnesota is than Sacramento.
Well, I will say the Lakers caught a break in this game, specifically when it came to Austin avoiding turnovers, in the sense that while he spent a lot of time with Jaden McDaniels on him, and Jaden McDaniels is an elite defender, they didn't have Anthony Edwards and they didn't have Jalen Clark. And those are 2 other guys that you would have thrown at Austin to mix up looks, to maybe have, I think, more effective pressures and doubles and stuff like that. And to be clear, I'm not saying this to take away anything from Austin, because still a hell of a lot of work to pull off what he did. And the whole no LeBron, no Luka, no other ball handlers thing. Like there's still a ton on Luka's plate, and I mean Austin's plate, and the Timberwolves could have just as easily, had they won this game, said, well, they caught a break with the Lakers missing half their roster.
Sure.
So, but this is one of those things where there was a little bit of luck on Austin's side in this particular regard, and then he turned that opportunity into incredible fortune. Just really, really good orchestration of that offense.
What I thought was impressive too, and I give the Lakers a lot of credit, because the worst part of this game, at least initially, the second worst part of the game was when that 20-point lead. I text you with about like 2.5 minutes to go. I'm like, this game needs to end fast.
I actually we'll talk about Dalton during this game. And Dalton, I guess it's now 1.5 games where he is starting to look more like, if not the guy that had everybody incredibly excited for the first 2 months of last season, looking more just like a guy that you can put in the rotation.
Correct. A functional player. I will take that. Give me that.
The last 3 or so minutes of the game, and I actually tweeted this out at Cam Brothers, I wanted JJ to sub in Jared Vanderbilt for Dalton, because they were protecting a lead, and Dalton is, Vando's a better defender than Dalton, and they were making defensive mistakes during this period where Minnesota made their run. But also, Dalton had such a good game. I didn't want to take any chances with him potentially going out on some sour note because of missed assignments.
Yeah, and I get that. It was one of those catch-22 kind of situations. Like they couldn't get stops. They also couldn't get points. And if you get one or the other,
sure,
you're in decent shape. But what I was going to say too is, like, we'll talk about what happened. Like that sequence where they lost that 20-point lead, that was a bad part of the game. But the other, the first quarter, the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, especially, that pressure was, turning the Lakers over, and they were, discombobulated on offense, and they were having trouble getting themselves organized defensively and all these things. And it looked like Minnesota was just going to be able to take them out of their game. And like you say, like, you're short ball handlers. There's only so much you can do here. And like circumstance, this might just be one of those games where finally the Lakers look like a team that's missing too many guys. But as a group, and Reaves was undoubtedly the catalyst for that, but he wasn't the only one. They stayed quite composed. They didn't get flustered when the ball got turned over. I think they understood there is going to be a certain amount of turnovers in this game. Like, just accept it. We're going to make some mistakes. But please, what we can do is not make it easy for them. We can avoid making really stupid passes. We can avoid dribbling to spots on the floor that do Minnesota's work for them. And, Reaves was the catalyst for keeping stuff together. But I thought, like the contributions of somebody like Jake Laravia, who was aggressive with his shot, 9 of 10, 5 of 6 from 3-point range. Really, the Lakers only attack from 3. The Lakers did not fall in love with the 3-pointer, which was very smart. But like, Laravia was aggressive, but not out of control. That was, I think, the tone that all of them basically set, was like, we're going to be aggressive, but we're not going to be stupid. We're not going to force things. And it just, everything about that, I just loved how they approached about 45 minutes of the 48.
They played careful without looking tentative. And I think sometimes
up until the only time they looked tight was when that lead was going away. Then, especially offensively, where you could tell they were tightening up.
Well, I think it was a combination of missing shots, but also the sequences where Minnesota got back into it. There was 3-pointers from, I think, Dante DiVincenzo and Jaden McDaniels. Like, these were missed assignments, and you could see them getting out of sorts down the stretch. It was honestly one of the few pockets of the game after about I don't know, maybe the first quarter and a half where Minnesota looked particularly alive at all.
Yeah, they had no energy.
Well, they had no energy, and they started looking extremely frustrated throughout most of the second half of this game. And their energy, I think, started picking up in the last few minutes because they were like, holy bleep, we're actually making what the hell is going on? Well, we might as well try to roll with it. But
right, the first 40 minutes, you couldn't believe they were down to the losing the game to the exciting Whites.
It was a big night for the exciting Whites. There is no question between.
It was a big night for that meme around the internet. The exciting Whites meme.
Yeah, it's a shame that both. I mean, Luka doesn't need a night like this. He doesn't need to be included with the exciting Whites. But Maxi Kleber missed his shot. Yeah. Like he may never have an opportunity to jump on the exciting Whites bandwagon like he did tonight.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of the other guys that made contributions. We mentioned Laravia, his performance. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And DeAndre Ayton played another very strong game. And man, Jared Vanderbilt found a good way to contribute as well. So lots more coming up on a very exciting night for Lakers fans. Get to it all next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Peloton, shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ, their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance, endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, cross-training with your favorite instructors. Any of those options. It is training reimagined. Peloton, built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, reach peak performance like Austin Reaves of late. The Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, corrects your form, makes every rep safer and smarter. The personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com.
So you look at the box score, Andy, and the 28 from Reaves obviously sticks out. 28-16. The 27 from Laravia, 10 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 6 from 3-point range. I would like to point out that this was the game that I was hoping Laravia would have when I streamed him on my fantasy team on Sunday. And he chose to hit one shot. So I had the right idea, just the wrong game. But
he also had 8 rebounds just to rub this whole thing.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I'm aware of what Jake did. But even before he kind of blew up, and you're like, geez, he's not missing any shots. Like, he's making all of his shots. You just watch him play, and he's one of those guys who just seems to just do good things on the floor. I don't want to go so far as to call him a winning basketball player, but so we got to go slow. It was only the 5th game of the season. We can't dive that deep into cliches, but just steady play, not forcing, move the ball along, find the open man, put the ball on the floor when you can. You're like, he can do that a little bit. And then obviously make the outside shots that are a huge part of why the Lakers brought you in. He showed a lot of what's in the bag.
Well, we talked about after the loss to Portland, Laravia was the only starter not in double figures. And while nobody's expecting 27 points a night from Jake Laravia moving forward, he did need that night in Portland to contribute more of the tangibles and like more of the counting stats in the scoring column. I think he had like 6 rebounds and 5 assists and did a lot of the connecting stuff that we saw in this game tonight too. And that Laravia, I think, rightly has a reputation for. And when you have your full slate of players, when LeBron and Luka and Smart and Vincent are back, the connectivity that Laravia provides, that is going to be very useful in its own right, without the stat line necessarily showing as much. But this period they're in right now, they need the scoring as well. And again, it doesn't have to be 27, but what it can't be is 3. Like we'll get into Jared Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt did only score 3 points, but there's other stuff that you expect from Vanderbilt more than the scoring. And even if you don't expect, 15 to 20 from Laravia and Knight, you expect, or at least need right now, 10-ish.
10 to 12, 10 to 15. 10 if he's going to start, which he is.
Yes.
10 to 15. Because he played 37 minutes in this game.
Yep.
So if you're going to have a guy who plays 37 minutes in your starting lineup, he's, then
That's fair.
I mean, just time on the floor says you're going to say it's very, I put him like on this, and we'll get to, Vanderbilt, I think, because he's a good counter to this. Laravia is much more like Rui with no Luka, no LeBron, no Marcus Smart. Like Rui must score.
Yes.
Is it good if he gets 25? Yes. Is he capable of 25? He sure is. Is he, can you count on it? No. But on Wednesday, for example, 17 points, 7 of 14 from the floor. That works, that's kind of right in there, that range. Contributed a couple big rebounds, 5 overall, 4 assists. It was overall just a nice, strong, solid game from Rui. But you needed 17 points. Because he's one of your guys who can score. Laravia, the skill set shades more towards Rui. Vando, which I think this is kind of where you were going, he only took 3 shots. He took 1 3-pointer, which again, you noted this on Tuesday. It was an air ball.
I'm telling you, I need some. By the way, we just got our hands on a Synergy account, so maybe I can look this up. I think Vando has missed more threes that did not touch the rim or anything at all than he's actually missed. He's missed all his threes so far this year, but I think he's in the regular season. But I actually think he's missed more via air ball than simply clanging them.
Do you think he's nervous? Because he's sitting on 49 career 3-pointers. The next one is his 50th. It's a milestone 3-pointer. Do you think it's just in his head that maybe that's the problem? But so he took his 1 3-pointer and it missed. And other than that, he didn't shoot. But they got, I think, 14 from Vando against the Blazers.
Yes.
Like that's found money. Mm-hmm. What you need from Vanderbilt is the rebounding that he gave you on Wednesday night, where he comes up with 12 rebounds, including 6 offensively. You can count on
2/3 of the offensive rebounds that Minnesota got as a team.
Yes. Like that kind of stuff. He had a steal. You can usually count on Vando for making a couple of sneaky good passes in a game. You don't need him to score. What you do need him, like the Lakers cannot absorb a 3 rebound game from Jared Vanderbilt on a night where he plays 26 minutes. Like you need more than that. Everybody's got to do their, fulfill their skill set. And then you hope somebody like Laravia has one of those nights and elevates, and then you end up being able to steal a game on the road against a still pretty good team, even though they're missing their star guy. So you look at Laravia, you look at Vanderbilt. I thought it was another really solid game for DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. He's settling. It's going to be really interesting when Luka gets back, how long it takes for him to really develop the chemistry with DeAndre Ayton that we're seeing with him and Austin. And something that I thought about, and I'd have to go look at some of Luka's rosters and really think about all the skill sets involved. And I know that in Wednesday's show, I talked about how Anthony Davis, I don't think is the same level of pick and pop partner as DeAndre Ayton. Like
Ayton
DeAndre
got hurt, by the way, on Wednesday.
I know he did. I know, and it sucks to see. But AD is a better player, and he is a better scorer than Anthony Davis, just to make sure.
Better everything than DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, than DeAndre Ayton. But DeAndre Ayton is a better pick and pop mid-range option in a pick and roll than Anthony Davis. He is. It's one of the few areas where he happens to be better. But Austin spent a lot of time running pick and pops with AD, even if AD, it's not, I think, as good as him rolling to the basket, getting set up right around there, whatever. AD would do some of those pick and pop jumpers. I wonder really how many pick and pop guys Luka's had, period.
Yeah.
And it's something I want to take a look at. Maybe I'll talk with like Nick Angstad and Biased and those guys over at Locked On Mavs, but it's something I've been thinking about just in terms of getting those two on the same page.
There aren't that many of them anymore.
Right. And maybe why Austin has picked this up with DeAndre quicker than Luka had before Luka got hurt.
Maybe. I think there are a couple things at play. I think part of it is Ayton sort of trying to do things that weren't as comfortable and natural to him, and then just not anymore. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I really loved about his performance on Wednesday, and it's not that it's an every moment thing, but you could tell there were some times where Minnesota hedged to the pop, expecting DA to just I don't want to say settle, because that's not fair. That's a good aggressive shot for him to take, but to take that shot kind of without looking at the floor, just, if that's not settling, but just to kind of robotically take that shot. And there were 2 or 3 times where they sort of overplayed the pick and pop, and Ayton went and either put the ball on the floor or kept going and played at the rim and, scored in traffic or tried to score. So that kind of thing where he feels the comfort level and the aggression to go to the basket. We saw a little bit of that on Wednesday. It'll work. I'm not worried about that combo. I think Luka obviously has been seeing it, and, DeAndre Ayton will get the ball where he wants to go. And then the other thing is too, like, Luka's gravity, as much as Reaves, is controlling Luka still has a different kind of gravity with the ball. And so there still may be more operations open in the paint for Ayton.
Sure. I'm just talking purely about
I know what you're getting at.
And the passes and stuff. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to continue to be pretty seamless. Dalton Knecht, we talked about him earlier in the show. We had mentioned him coming into this game after a pretty strong, fourth quarter, especially against the Blazers on Sunday. Are we really seeing sustainable signs of life? And what would it mean if we are? That's next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Rippling. If you are a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, software as a service. That's SAD, software as a disservice. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Rippling removes the bottlenecks and the busy work that slows teams down. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access, it runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnba. That's rippling.com/lockedonnba. Rippling.com/lockedonnba for 6 months free.
Locked On Lakers also brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends at advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. I think the distinction you were making, Andy, at the beginning of the show about Dalton is the right one. It's not, can Dalton become that guy? Whoa, the Lakers, they may have found a future six man of the year or something like that. In
the first couple months, six man of the year wasn't even an option because people were talking about, is Dalton too good to take out of the starting lineup?
Right. Whatever it might be.
It was Austin that needed to go into the 6-man role. Remember, for Dalton,
That's
when
right.
we were all fighting between exciting whites.
That's right. And so, like, that would be great. It's not like I'm opposed to it. But what the Lakers really need is a guy they can put on the floor who is a functional member of the roster. And so, coming into the season, it looked like, I'm not even sure Dalton's really playable. If he is now, like, because we talked about, like, they go 10 deep and it sort of drops off a cliff and you never have your top 10 healthy. That's not how this league works, and so you need 10, 11, 12, 13 guys who can kind of play for you. And if Dalton is gaining back some confidence and can be, he played, I thought, attentive defense on Wednesday, and including some legitimately good play.
I thought the first half in particular, I actually thought Dalton played extremely good defense. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, he was part of the breakdowns that were happening when Minnesota made that game-threatening push. And I tweeted out that I wanted JJ to put in Vando just for the defensive fortification, and they were protecting a lead. And again, I really wanted to prevent the night possibly ending on a sour note for Dalton, where the weaknesses really started becoming magnified. And to be clear, Dalton was not the only guy making mistakes, but Austin, Rui, Laravia, like Ayton, like those guys are not coming off the floor. It's really a question of Dalton. But the first half, his defense was actually quite good.
Yeah, and I think, again, the fact the Lakers were flowing offensively and were able to balance the floor, and like it all made a difference what they were doing. The bad offense helped facilitate some bad defense as well. But I agree with you. Like I would have been fine with that shift. But I mean, the last couple games, we've seen not just like some decent results, but like you could see it on Dalton's face in this game on Wednesday. Like, okay, all right. Where he was sort of bleeding confidence before, he wasn't. He looked much more like a guy who believes in himself and was confident in what he was doing and felt comfortable with what he was doing. And if that's the case, then the Lakers are in better shape to get through this sequence without Luka. And when, Luka comes back, they're still going to need 15 minutes a night from him, 12 minutes a night, whatever it might be, because enough other guys are banged up.
I watched the first half of this game. I watched on ESPN's feed. In the second half, I watched on Spectrum Sportsnet. I like sometimes listening to the different calls and the different perspectives, but Tim Legler mentioned something in the first half, and Tim Legler, just side note, is a really great analyst, just really observant. He's really good at his job. But he mentioned something with Dalton that jumped out at me because it's a point that I've made a lot during Dalton's struggles, particularly like in the second half of last year, and then some of what we saw in the summer league and the preseason. The idea that as much as Dalton entered the league 24, which is a quote unquote old rookie, and seemingly more experienced and seemingly more ready for the NBA, his role in the NBA was much different than what he was being asked to do at Tennessee. He was being asked to do different things and understand certain looks and schemes and timing that he wasn't picking up on. But the point I kept making is this is new for him. People, I think, kept assuming or thinking because he's older, these are all things that he was doing in college. He should know this. And it really is something new. And Legler brought up that several of Dalton's baskets in the first half came off him making correct reads and like timings off screens and things like that, where it wasn't just about Dalton, hitting a catch and shoot three or just driving straight to the basket or whatever. It was him actually reading the floor and putting himself in position to score. And that, to me, in and of itself, is hopefully something really promising for Dalton, because if you are, and you express these concerns, Brian, concerned about basketball IQ being a potential hindrance for Dalton, these are maybe signs that he's actually starting to understand better the things that he is now going to be doing as an NBA player.
You certainly hope so. Because, I think if you're still looking kind of red flaggish on this, it's like he's still in a situation right now where, because of who's out, he gets to fill a bigger role offensively than he might otherwise. Like, you kind of want him to, go do your thing. Like, you've got some space here that you don't normally have that with Luka there, with LeBron there, with AR there, with Laravia. Like, there are too many, there aren't enough shots for Knecht to be kind of a volume guy. And so you got to be able to pick your spots and step up and like work as a low volume player, kind of still doing that stuff. And ultimately, the one thing he didn't do, all that well on Wednesday, and he's still not doing all that well, is make 3-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he's going to need to do that. He's shooting 18% from 3-point range. Like, all the other stuff is valuable and good, but fundamentally, like, first and foremost, Dalton Knecht has to be a 40% 3-point shooter to be a high value player in this league.
Yeah.
And so, there's work to do there, but man alive, he just looks so much better, particularly in that first half on Wednesday. And any encouraging sign, I've been very, very critical of Dalton. I'll take any encouraging sign from him, as I'm sure will the Lakers.
Well, tonight was also too, because he got baskets at the rim. He had 2 blocks in this game. Yeah. It was a reminder that he's certainly with the players available right now, if nothing else, but maybe with the roster at full strength, he's in the upper half of athleticism on a team
he's one of the top 3 or 4 guys they have, and I don't think it's even close. Like, the guy left the combine with I think he had the second best vertical leap at the combine, or something like that.
Right. And it's something that it's an area where this team, even at full strength, is lacking. And, LeBron, obviously, once he is back and hopefully doesn't look different post sciatica, like when LeBron wants to crank it up, his athleticism is still off the charts, but he has to be more conscious of how he preserves it. And Luka and Austin, as great of players as they are, like, that's never going to be their forte, just like pure athleticism. That's an element that this team lacks. And if you put Dalton on the floor and he can be a more functional player, it's not just that it'll open up the floor with the shooting that, this team needs and every team needs. He can actually help up the athleticism specifically, maybe not in every way you'd want. Like, I don't think the athleticism is necessarily going to translate to upper level defense, but it can translate in different ways that are needed.
Right. And, the athleticism is helpful with defense, but it's not, I don't think it's the most important thing. And so, but look, I mean, it was just all in all, and, again, we started with Reaves, we should end with Reaves. Like, this was another just spectacular game for Reaves in a way that kind of contrasts between the 51 and the 43 in the last couple games, and just what he did tonight, orchestrating this offense, facilitating, and then obviously the game winner. Andy, he's my player of the game.
We can't, I cannot screenshot this and display it on the YouTube because of Locked On rules. But if I may quote LeBron James on Twitter after the game with, I want to say, I'm eyeballing this, but 10 exclamation marks, A mother bleeping R. And he did not use bleeping. But, LeBron's made it pretty clear for a few years. He is a big fan of Austin Reaves. He very, very much appreciates what Austin brings to the table.
And rightly so. All right, so the Lakers get a night off, and then we'll be in Memphis on Friday against a beatable, but not a terrible, but a beatable Memphis team. They at least got some guys back on the floor. So we'll see what they can do in that game. But again, every game that they win with Luka on the sidelines, and they're now 2-1 in this, it's like it keeps them on schedule, and it's very significant. So again, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers. We'll be back with our show on Friday, and see y'all after the game as well.